Good morning, Trump's family. Have a good day and God bless you. Thank you for always watching and subscribing to the channel. Alright, let's get into the news. Bad news for Pelosi Democrats to mainstream media and Joe Biden. That's right. The two Democrat senators who are from Republican states, Senator Kyrsten Sinema and of course, Joe Manchin, have signaled once again, they will not be pressured into eliminating the filibuster in the Senate, even for their abortion rights. That's right. They have come out and said they're not going to do it. Of course, this is causing all kinds of angst amongst the Democrat Party people like Pelosi and Biden and others. Because that means now they have to try to win with abortion being on the ballot coming in 2022 midterm elections. This is going to have to be part of their platform, telling American voters, yes, please elect us so we can continue to eliminate babies. Yes, that's what we want to do. That is our platform. We want to have your children subjected to drag story or all this LGBTWXYZ propaganda that we push in our schools and are in television and network television and everything else. And of course, we will eliminate your babies. So when you can't have any babies, and now we have to convert your babies into this order. It says that a huge blow to Joe Biden and Biden mentioned and Sinema will not kill the filibuster for the abortion law. That's great news for, of course, babies. And that's great news for the Republic as they stand. Joe Biden on Thursday last day vicious attack of the Supreme Court. At a post-NATO summit press conference in Madrid, Spain, Joe Biden called the Supreme Court outrageous and destabilizing and called for suspending the filibuster in the Senate. That's to allow passage of legislation to legalize abortion. First and foremost thing we should do is make clear how outrageous this decision was and how much it impacts not just women's rights to choose, which is critical piece. But on privacy, generally on privacy. Generally, Democrats don't care about privacy. They spy on us every single day, the whole government don't care. About privacy, screw privacy, right? At this point, get out behind that shield approach. You sat there, you are firing people for not taking your jab. He would talk to me about privacy, get the hell out of here. And now and so I'm going to be talking to the governors as to what actions they think I should be taking as well. But the most important thing is to be clear about is we have to change. I believe we codify Roe v. Wade and law in that way. And that way to do that is to make sure Congress votes to do that. And the filler brothers, if the filibuster gets in the way, it's like voting rights, it should be. We provide an exception for this. We require an exception to the filibuster for this action, he added. But Democrat Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema have both reaffirmed they will not nuke the filibuster to codify Roe v. Wade. A spokesman for Manchin and an agent Sinema who both oppose suspending the filibuster in the past told Reuters on Thursday that their respective positions have not changed. So last month, Manchin and Sinema declared they would not kill the filibuster. After the draft opinion showing that the Supreme Court was going to overturn Roe v. Wade, the draft opinion was leaked to the press, something that was highly unusual. An attempt to switch the vote before it was announced to draft opinion was also leaked to put pressure on Sinema and Manchin to nuke to filibuster, but they didn't. They are digging in their heels. Manchin, the Sinema poured cold water. Biden, Democrats and Nancy Pelosi dream of getting this into Congress. And now they're going to have to actually run on it. If they want this into law, they're going to have this as their platform. They're going to have say, hey, these senators that are running for the Senate, they want to make sure they can eliminate babies. That is their platform now. And we know overall, across the United States, it's not a popular position to have with the introduction of ultrasounds and things like that really has changed the way people view abortion and view of babies in the womb. They can actually see, yes, it is a human being, can't be nothing else but a human being, right? You can't be carrying an elephant or a draft or a line inside your head. That's big belief. This is huge news. And I'm going to explain the ramifications and give some interesting analysis regarding why Manchin and Sinema have opposed the filibuster to codify Roe v. Wade. This says more about the Democratic Party and liberal activists, and activists on the left or the philosophy of liberal Democrats than it does about Manchin and Sinema. They should have the past couple of months tried every way to explain their vantage point or convince Sinema and Manchin that this needed to happen. The way they work, however, is intimidation and negative press coverage. And outrage. This really doesn't influence Democrats in red states. You're a Democrat in Arizona or West Virginia. You really don't care what progressives in San Francisco think, or what progressives in Los Angeles or Portland, or any word left-leaning liberal Democrats. You don't really care what they think. You don't care what liberals in New York think of you. And that's the problem with the Democratic Party. They're impervious to just basic logic and reasoning. They can't just simply say, hey. Through reason, logic, debate, discourse, they'll try to debate their opponents. But reason, logic, debate, discourse, discussion. So this is Business Insider. Biden's call for a filibuster carve-out for abortion rights are unlikely to gain traction because mainstream cinema oppose it. They oppose the filibuster, actually, right before Republicans obliterate and decimate their political opposition during the midterms and 2022. We'll see House Republicans. The House will be taken over by Republicans 40 to 60 plus seats, probably. And the Senate also will go into Republican hands, but you see, they have an outrage machine on the left. Everything is this pseudo-moralistic? Almost theocratic, definitely this cult-like mentality. Meanwhile, they don't even have a functioning primary. But they talk about democracy every 2 seconds. This is democracy, by the way. You need 60 votes now. With the filibuster, you need 60 votes in the Senate to get something passed on a federal level. Okay. You knew that you want to codify Roe v. Wade, because the Supreme Court said it's left up to the states, and Supreme Court also said it's left up to Congress. They just tanked Build Back Better, because that was absolutely horrendous. Build Back Better was about transforming the U.S. economy from fossil fuels to renewables. Now, that's like everyone's laughing at that. Biden's desperately trying to pump as much fossil fuels and oil and gas into the economy because he tanked the entire economy with his initial policies. That's why he was sued by oil and gas associations and 14 states, because within the lawsuits they said your policies, your executive orders and your policy specifically banning drilling on foot leasing on federal lands and other detrimental policies to business and to oil in the oil and gas industry that's making gas at the pump more expensive, thus hurting the working class that the left really claims to care about. Inflation is an 8 to 9%, and a great part of it is energy cost. But here Biden said the filibuster shouldn't get in the way of an abortion rights bill, but Manchin Sinema oppose ending the filibuster even though they support the codifying Roe v. Wade. So again, you can't codify Roe v. Wade without abolishing the filibuster. It's actually an interesting thing they want to abolish the filibuster months before Democrats lose the Senate. So Democratic Senators Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona won't be supporting a carve-out to the filibuster to codify Roe v. Wade. So they're not backing. The Philip abolishing the filibuster, yet another like from Medicare for All Green New Deal legislation pack the courts abolish the filibuster. They usually lie or deceive their own voters, then they talk about Trumpline. And it's like Trump actually did everything possible to implement the policies you promised to his voters, specifically a great economy and a great foreign policy. So we had record low unemployment, hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs, GDP growth, real wages were up, real wages are down, inflation is through the roof. Inflation was like 2% with Trump, gas prices were like $3 or below. People were doing well economically up until the last year of his presidency, when Democrats completely tanked the U.S. economy with glee. To save you and him, to keep you safe and happy. But because the experts told them to do so, and of course any experts disagreed, were excommunicated from public life, but that's the way it works. Their consensus was definitely not fabricated and coerced. But I mean, you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where people didn't like Trump's tweets. This is the way liberal Democrats would react, many of them who say, you know what, you deserve a terrible economy and a horrible foreign policy and all of this, like, you cheated Bernie Sanders in 2016. You cheated Bernie Sanders, and I pitched an article, and I guess, nope, maybe a lot of people don't agree with my viewpoint, but you cheated Bernie Sanders in 2016, you got 3 conservative Supreme Court justices, instead of 3 liberal. Bernie Sanders would have won at that moment in time. Okay, and I'm trying to be as objective as possible. I support Trump and DeSantis. But I'm saying he would have won at that moment in time. Okay, now, it's not democracy that's at stake. It's the Democratic Party and liberal ideology that's at stake. Democracy is working just fine. Generally, it's actually Democrats that tarnish democracy with a hearsay and gossip and these show trials. Liz Cheney, she had any evidence would have given it to the DOJ a year and a half ago. You didn't need like Cassidy Hutchinson to say to relay what she heard from somebody else who just basic gossip hearsay rumors, like you wouldn't allow anyone to tell your boss that you had done something you didn't do. And allow your boss at work to fire you because of hearsay, gossip, rumor, innuendo. You wouldn't allow that you could sue that you probably sue the company. And so you can't go after Trump. Because somebody said something at some point. And he tried to take the steering wheel, commandeer the vehicle, go after and lunge at a Secret Service agent knew then and knew people were armed, even though the Secret Service would never allow that. While a president is speaking, I mean, these are like and then you said Democrats make the leap of logic. Yes, he knew everything. He orchestrated everything because of this hearsay and gossip. Meanwhile, you have emails pointing to Hunter's clear pay to play schemes. There's not a lot of problem. But here Democrats don't have enough votes for abortion rights without the filibuster. Even without support for Manchin's senator, it's not clear that filibuster carve-out would be the only bear. Are you going to codifying abortion rights? Senate Democrats aside from Manchin have united behind, okay, which we legalize abortion every state Women's Health Protection Act and invalidate most restrictions, but the bill failed twice in the Senate and or only received 49 votes both times to pass without a filibuster. It would need 50 votes in the Senate and another vote from Vice President Kamala Harris. So they don't even have the votes. And this is like the epitome of Democratic Party dysfunction. They have the House and Senate. They have the House and technically they have the Senate. They have all of media. They can pretty much react without experiencing the consequences that conservatives would experience. If God forbid, they were doing the same things. We have churches being desecrated, vandalized, burned to the ground throughout this country. After the Supreme Court decision. I don't see Adam Kinzinger, Liz Cheney, condemning that. And that's a big problem. But the Supreme Court didn't say you can't have the medical procedure. It said that it's back to the states or to Congress. Democrats are unwilling to convince that red state Democrats are unable or unwilling or not capable of convincing Republicans within those states that their side is moral. And just, that's what you'd have to do in politics. You'd have to use reason, logic, debate, discourse, discussion, to actually convince your political opponents. That's not the way Democrats roll. They don't like that. They like intimidation, coercion. They like overwhelming media coverage, they like to disparage and demean their opponents, and actually convincing their opponents not so much. So they can't even do that with Manchin cinema. So it'll focus a lot more on the oil and gas industry and fossil fuels going up exponentially. Diesel prices are going to take this economy further, we're heading towards. And I've told everyone that since September of 2021, a devastating economic situation, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the first inning of a prolonged economic downturn, not just 2 quarters of negative growth. We will have probably 3-4. And there's a possibility I'm not some less than that prediction, there's a possibility we could flirt with a depression, because massive layoffs are coming. So unfortunately. So make sure you save as much money as possible. If you need a loan from the bank, I would probably say get that loan if you can get it because liquidity is going to dry up. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. If you want to support my voice,